It was probably the most unsurprising move of the entire 2026 offseason, but the Broncos are expected to bring back former Lions offensive coordinator and former Sean Payton coaching staff member Johnny Morton to be the pass game coordinator for the Denver Broncos for this upcoming season. Broncos country, welcome into the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. My name is Moose, and the reason that I want to talk about this today is because out of all the coaching hires that the Broncos have made so far, number one, this was the most completely expected. And number two, it is easily, in my opinion, the best possible news for the Denver Broncos. And I'll explain why the rest of the NFL should be kind of shaken in their boots based off of what Johnny Morton was able to do last year with the Detroit Lions. And I'm sure the question you're asking yourself is, well, didn't he get fired so it could have been that bad or that good? Well, believe it or not, it actually was better than you thought it was. It just so happens that Dan Campbell is running a very tight ship right now in Detroit. We'll touch on all of that coming up here in a little bit. Zach Stevens was also on this as well. By the way, that little passing touchdown that Bo had to Frank Crum against the Bills in the divisional game, yeah, that was a Johnny Mo play. So he was the one that kind of implemented that as he worked as a consultant for the Broncos this last playoff run. And clearly, if Bo Nix is healthy, we all believe that we go to the Super Bowl, right? And maybe there's a chance that we win that Super Bowl. But the past is the past, and it's time to focus on the present. Speaking of the present, guess what's going on this week? Chat Sports is at the NFL Scouting Combine. We've got boots on the ground at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. We get daily videos and Combine content for you. So do yourself a favor. If you want player interviews, coach interviews, GM interviews, you got to subscribe today. Our goal is 20 subscribers on this specific episode. So back to Mr. Johnny Morton. He comes back after a failed attempt as the Lions offensive coordinator. Obviously, this is the NFL, so firings happen all the time. That doesn't make you a bad coach, right? Just because you were let go from one job does not mean that you're a bad employee. You and I can kind of relate to all of that. I've been fired from jobs before. It doesn't mean I sucked at my job. It just means going in different directions. You as a career, person and them as a company, we parted ways. It happens. It happens to almost every single person in the NFL. Hell, Bill Belichick got fired from the New England Patriots. He won 6 Super Bowls. But Dan Campbell is kind of like the epicenter of this whole reason that Johnny Morton was fired. He took over the play calling duties in week 10 of this 2025 season. He claimed it was because he had a different vision for the way he wanted the Detroit Lions offense to look. And I can't fault a man for that because obviously they had Ben Johnson the previous couple of years and they had the best offense in the league. And while they weren't, the number one explosive offense, Johnny Morton was not bad. Can we all just take a look at the numbers when Johnny was calling plays last year? And I'm a firm believer that not every single offensive coach has to be a coordinator, right? Like some guys they're just not great play callers, but Morton was averaging 350 yards per game, 30 damn near points per game. They did have a record of 5-3. Excuse me. Still fighting off something a little bit here. But you can clearly see that Johnny Morton was not the major problem last year for the Detroit Lions. It wasn't the disaster class that everybody was claiming it was for the Lions either. Everybody in Detroit's like, oh, Johnny Morton's a terrorist. Really? Was he? Or did you just not have Ben Johnson? I think the answer can kind of be found right in between. Like, of course, Ben Johnson is, or Johnny Morton's not Ben Johnson. But who is? There's only one Ben Johnson, and he's the head coach of the Chicago Bears now. So while it is fair to say that, okay, it was ridiculously high expectations to try to compete with the likes of what Johnson was able to do with Detroit, and put that on Morton's plate. Of course it was. But we can also simultaneously say that this wasn't a failed, miserable attempt at calling plays. Johnny Morton did just fine until Dan Campbell was like, I need to take a little bit more of a hands-on approach. So I believe this is a fantastic hire for the Broncos. You get a guy that worked with Jared Goff, with Jahmyr Gibbs, with David Montgomery, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and a variety of other players on that Detroit Lions offense, which, by the way, finished the year both top 5 in points scored and in yards gained. Half of that had to do with Johnny Morton. So let me know in the comment section down below. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, as much as I was wondering when I heard the news, what does this mean for Bo Nix? Well, we're going to kind of do a little bit of a deep dive, do some more homework on Bo and what this is going to mean for him coming up in this next season. Now, before we do that, though, I got to tell you about my friends over at Harry's. Obviously, I had to shave the beard, but that happens from time to time. And I'll tell you what, my friends, Harry's is the product that I trust every single day. You've got to do yourself a favor and get Harry's right now. It's the product I use for my personal grooming habits. But if you're going to go with Harry's, let me tell you about something they've got going on, at least right now. Harry's, my friends, is the best place to get all of your personal grooming essentials. I use Harry's every single day, whether it's on my back, whether it's on my neck or my face. I am trusting my shaving with Harry's. And if your old razor dulled too quickly, irritated your neck, and if it costs way too much, you need Harry's Plus, because it is the heaviest razor handle ever, made from metal, never plastic, designed to fit comfortably in your hand, and that heavier handle means more control and a luxe feel. Harry's doesn't just make razors, though. They got a full line of grooming essentials, from shave gel to deodorant to body wash, all thoughtfully made and priced up to stock. All of Harry's blades, by the way, and grooming products can be delivered right to your door. So set your preferred schedule and never run out of blades again. For a limited time, our listeners can get the Harry's Plus trial set for only $10 at harrys.com/chat. This set includes the all-new Harry's Plus razor, one refined 5-blade cartridge, a 2-ounce foaming shave gel, and a travel cover to protect your blades on the go. Just head on over to harrys.com/chat to claim the offer, and after you purchase, they're going to say, hey, where'd you hear about us? Please support our show and let them know that Moose from the Broncos Breakdown sent you. Okay, really quickly, we'll touch on why I believe this is ridiculously good news for Bo Nix. Now, Johnny Morton comes as the passing game coordinator. He'll be working side by side with new offensive coordinator Davis Webb. Now, we've talked ad nauseum about how I believe that Davis Webb is going to take over the play calling duties, and this will be super advantageous for Bo Nix. But these two specifically understand not only the Sean Payton style of play calling and what Sean wants to do from his offense, which is the methodically moving the ball down the field, right? Short game passing, screen game. But now he also understands a little bit more outside of that and more explosive play calling, right? Jared Goff loved to play under play action, loved to play under center, throw the ball over the middle of the field. And if we take a look back at Bo Nix's last 2 years, from his rookie year to his sophomore year. Pardon me, guys. I had to take a sip of water there. If we take a look at Bo's first 2 seasons, some could argue that the numbers look like Bo regresses. But I would challenge that really, really fast. We saw a tremendous amount of growth from Bo this year. The biggest area that Bo grew was his ability to get it done in the clutch. Bo was able to take himself from a rookie quarterback that exceeded and was moving along and progressing well in Sean Payton's offense to not only someone who mastered the offense, but was able to deliver in the most clutch and important moments of a lot of football games down the field. How many game-winning drives did Bo Nix have in 2026? Like 7, 8? I mean, it was crazy. He clearly progressed as a quarterback. And I think, personally, he progressed so much, he outgrew Sean Payton's designed offense. That's why Webb was promoted. That's why I think Webb was promoted. Sean looks at Bo. Sean looks at what Bo has become, and he says he is no longer what Drew Brees was at the very end of his career, which was deliver the ball quickly, deliver it out in the flat to your running backs, that joker position, which he wanted R.J. Harvey to become the next Alvin Kamara. Bo is a different player. He's more explosive than Drew Brees was at the end, and he's more mobile than Drew Brees was. And Sean Payton's offense is highlighted, in my opinion, by 4 major pillars. Lots of short yardage play designs. He loves to methodically throw that ball like between 0 and 5 yards. It's a staple of his offense. That methodic passing game to chunk the ball down the field, highlighted, of course, by the screen game, which is managing those short yardage situations. Sean does not like to operate on 3rd and 9s. He likes to operate on like 3rd and 4s, 3rd and 5s. But also, He has a tendency to abandon the run game. How many times did you hear him say, I had to run the ball on the top of my play sheet? It happened far too frequently. But I think this could also be highlighted, and going back to Bo here for a second, I think we can kind of, pivot to Bo's 3 best games, in my opinion, of the entire season. And those 3 best games were against the Green Bay Packers, the Dallas Cowboys, and even though it's not showing on the passer rating side of everything, that first game against the Kansas City Chiefs was by far one of his best games of the season. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, why are you highlighting these 3 games specifically, Moose? What do these 3 games have in common for Bo Nix? The correlation is that all 3 of those games, Bo had a big-time throw percentage of over 10 yards, or over 10%, excuse me. Meaning what? Bo was able to throw the ball and explode in chunk yardage, or not chunk yardage, but down the field. Big time play percentage. Big time throws are not just like a clutch stat. It's also how far were you able to rip that ball downfield? So all 3 of those games, not only did the first 2 games have incredible passer ratings, but big-time throw percentages of over 10%. And I'm going to go one bit further here. According to Warren Sharp Advanced Analytics, this was throughout the NFL, not just the Denver Broncos. If a drive had had 0 plays with 15-plus yardages, so if a drive started and ended with 0 plays of over 15-plus yards, they had a 16% chance to score, 6% touchdown rate, and 0.7 points per drive. Comparatively, for drives that had at least one 15-plus yard play, meaning one play on one drive that went over 15 yards, went up to a 61% score rate, 36% touchdown rate, 3.3 points per drive. It matters that you have to be a big-time chunk play offense. You've got to have explosive plays. You have to. You have to be able to push the ball downfield. It is a pillar now in the NFL's 2025 passing game and 2026 passing game. Now, we can also look at the most recent passing between the numbers. How many times between the hash marks was Bo Nix able to perform at the same operating level as his NFL counterparts? Well, if you take a look right at that middle intersecting line where those lines become perpendicular, Bo is quite literally just a tick under that dead center line, right next to Justin Herbert and Jalen Hurts. So Bo is obviously, when it comes to throwing the ball over the middle of the field, capable of doing so. And despite that, I've got fans that are messaging me constantly saying, I'm still not super sold on Bo Nix. And I'm not trying to call out fans here. That's not what this is. I'm trying to make a point. A fan DM'd me a couple of days ago about having some doubts about Bo. And I completely get it if you still have doubts. But if anything, my doubts are not only squashed, I'm more confident in Bo now than I was going into 2025 because I believe Sean is going to be shifting into more of what Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Ben Johnson, what they do well, which is they can do the things that Sean does, the checkdowns, the screenplays, but they can also really deliver some creative, explosive play designs. And that's something that Sean was kind of lacking this last year. I realize that was a lot of information. It's a Monday. I'm going to do my best to kind of get it back on track. So let me ask you this question real quick. Bo Nix is currently a top blank quarterback in the NFL. I still think it's a top 13. I still think it's a top 13 right now. Obviously, with the injury, hopefully his foot heals back and he's back to normal playing style. But there was a stretch down the stretch of this last season where Bo was playing like a top 10 quarterback, especially highlighted in that playoff game where he was almost perfect outside of one bad throw against the Buffalo Bills. That's all I got for you. Pardon me. I don't know what I'm going through. I've got this little throat thing going on, so I apologize if this wasn't my best episode. I'll be back later today with more content surrounding your Denver Broncos. A mile high salute. Be cool.